I'm glad you asked. Zoologists say that when ducks are quacking, the reason why they're quacking and making noise is because they griping and complaining about something. That's why every time you rather see a duck flap because it's too busy flapping wings and quacking.
I can't take it off.
And see, some of us suffer from a duck mentality, not just in church, but even in our own life, that when things are not going right, we don't try to figure out how to soar above the fray like the eagle. We think all we need to do is crack our way through. But God told me to tell you today, every now and then, you need to learn to get up off your behind and soar above your problem. Every now and then, you need to learn to not pay attention to your problem, but pay attention to the problem. You don't even pay attention to the problem, but pay attention to the problem fixer. And the problem fixer is not down here, but it's up there. That's why the duck quack, because the duck don't know how to get up there. All the duck know how to do is move in the same direction, with the same motion, with the same voice. God told me to tell you, when I got on my face this morning to pray, God told me to tell you, West Side, He didn't make West Side to be a duck, He made West Side to be an eagle. And every now and then, West Side, it's time for us to get ready to take flight. And we gonna get where God has for us. We gotta quit cracking and complaining about our current situation and our current circumstances and move to the next level. We need to quit having meeting after meeting talking about change and pray for a shift. We too busy wanting to change, and God is too busy wanting to shift us to the next dimension. We're going to talk about change. We want to change. So, we got time to shift, but we're going to change. And what I've learned is your shift is connected to your relationship with God, not in a community setting, but in a private setting. Listen, man told me one time, Loyd, folk can tell when you done pray. Folk can tell when you done spend time in the Word. He said, it shows, it's evident. He said, but folk can also tell when you ain't praying. Folk tell when you ain't reading no scripture. Folk tell when you ain't spent time with God. Why? Because it shows. What are you saying to us, brother? What I'm saying is, I'm going to say it like my mama used to say, what's done in the dark. What's done in the dark, it's going to come to the light. And so if we too busy meeting and having meetings and talking about change in the dark, but ain't put no action to it, it's going to show in the light. But if we spend time on our face praying and praising and worshiping God, we going to one of these days, we going to blow up and folks going to wonder how it happened, when it happened, why it happened. It ain't none of your business. In fact, some of y'all need to get on your phone right now. You need to get on your Facebook page. You need to get on your Twitter page and take all that negative stuff and just put stuff like this. I'm shipping. I don't know when, but I just know I'm shipping. Some of y'all need to get on your phone and call some of your naysayers. Call some of those gospel. Don't cuss them out. Don't talk crazy to them. Just text them and just say, I'm shipping. Just say, God is getting ready to shift me. God is getting ready to take me somewhere that I don't even know. But wherever it is, I'm willing to go there. The thing is, God is not concerned with our ability. God is concerned with our availability. It's when we make ourselves available to God that God drops the shift on us. Too many of us think it's our ability that gets us to the next level. But it's not our ability that's going to take us to the next level. It's our availability and our faith that's connected to our shift. Yeah. How do you know, man? I'm done. It's in the text. Watch this. God told Joshua to tell the children of Israel, he said, listen, number one, when you speak things, and then when you're willing to go through something, Watch this. He says, I want you all to drive out all of the inhabitants of the land from before you. I want you to drive out all of those negative attitudes. I want you to drive out all that negative thinking. I want you to get rid of some of those relationships that you have. I want you to get rid of some of those people. And Westside, don't you know every now and then when God takes you to the next level, everybody can go there with you. Everybody don't belong where God is trying to take you. Everybody don't belong in the ship that God is trying to give to you. So every now and then you got to drive out. Listen, look at the word drive out in the Hebrew text. And you know what that word meant? The word drive out in the Hebrew simply means to get rid of. In fact, what it really means is give some folk some pink slips. And I came to Westside to let you know, Westside, we get ready to go to the next level. But what we got to do is, we got to hand out some pink slips to some sorrow. We got to hand out some pink slips to suffering. We got to hand out some pink slips to pain. We got to give out some pink slips to some problems and some folk who don't believe that God is getting ready to shift us. Yeah, that's right. What are you saying? What do you suggest? Go home and write up some pink slips. Write some of your addictions on a pink slip. Write that negative attitude on a pink slip. Write some of those folk that don't belong to you on a pink slip. Just ball it up and throw it in the trash can. Because God said you will take possession of the land when you drive out those things that are not of God. Now drive out first. See the perspective, the process, and then lastly, the promise. Tell you a story. Young girl, they were preparing for a chess match. She spent her whole life preparing for a chess match. She went through the semifinal. She won something. She went through the regional championship. So she won. She beat everybody in Georgia. She won. Then she got to the national championship. And she went up against a 7-time world champion. This man had won 7 times in a row. And y'all, before the match even started, folks went to this girl and said, listen, baby, he done won 7 times. Ain't no need you sit down. Time to play. Listen, you ain't gonna win. You ain't gonna win. You ain't gonna win. So the girl said, well, I'm gonna try anyway. So she sat down, she played the chess game. She played the game for about an hour. After about an hour, it looked like she was getting ready to lose. And so some of those same naysayers, some of those same folk that were on the telephone talking about, some of those same folk that was on Facebook talking about, some of them same folk on Instagram talking about, some of them same folk texting and talking about, they ran to the front, they said, listen girl, you need to quit. You done been at this thing for too long now. You need to give it up because this man is going to whoop your butt. He's going to kick your butt. You need to quit. And the girl said she stood up. She had a little attitude one night. When I had to excuse her. She was a humble young lady, but she got real cocky in this moment. And she got cocky because she looked out on the crowd and her naysayers. She looked out on the crowd and her haters. And she said, y'all want to tell y'all something? Y'all can talk about me all y'all want to. Y'all can say what y'all want to say about me. But I'm going to sit right here all day long. You want to know why? Because if you look at the board, if you take a look at the board, if you come up here close enough and look at the board, my king has another move. And that's all I came to tell you, Westside. Yeah, we may be struggling on some things, but our king has another move. Yeah, things might not be going right for us, but our king still has another move. Yeah, we might not be able to press our way through, but the king still has another move. Yes. The king of kings. Yes. Got another move. Yeah. Some of us quit the game before we let the king move. Some of us say no before we let the king move. Some of us give up hope before we let the king move. And God is saying, if I'm going to shift you, if I'm going to take you to the next level, you got to let me be the power of this plan. You got to let me be the captain of this ship. If I'm going to shift you, if you're going to go to the next level, if you're going to go to the place that God has for you, then some of us ought to start pronouncing some benedictions to some stuff, ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. May the Lord watch between me and you. But now, some of us need to start packing our bags because we get ready to go to the next level. And y'all, I'm gonna tell you something. I just declare and I decree today from this pulpit that God is shifting us. And so I came to tell yesterday sayonara. I came to tell yesterday arrivederci. I came to tell yesterday goodbye. I came to tell yesterday hasta la vista, baby. I came to tell yesterday peace up, A-town down. I came to tell yesterday we ain't worried about you no more. I came to tell yesterday your time has expired. The clock has run out for you. I came to tell yesterday it's all over for you. I came to tell yesterday today is a new day. I came to tell yesterday that we can endure for a night. But my joy has come in the morning. I came to tell yesterday that the Lord is my shepherd and I will not want. I came to tell yesterday that the weapon that was no more will not prosper. I came to tell yesterday that I'm shifting. I came to tell yesterday that I'm getting ready to do a new thing. I came to tell yesterday I'm going to the next level. I came to tell yesterday you better get out of my way because I'm getting ready to take off. I came to tell yesterday I'm getting ready to break out the block. I came to tell yesterday bye bye, see you later. I ain't got time for this. I came to tell yesterday you in my rearview mirror because my side view mirror said that things are closer than they appear. Because yesterday's problems are yesterday's problems. And yesterday's pains are yesterday's pains. I'm tired of changing. I'm ready to shift. And I cannot shift to where God is getting ready to take me if I'm holding on to excess value. And that's all God did with the vote in the children of Israel. All he did was he took them through the wilderness before he gave them the promised land. Watch this. Because he wanted to prune them and not purge them. I'm done. Everybody know the difference between pruning and purging? Pruning is spend time with my grandma in the garden. So pruning is when I cut a little bit off here, I cut a little bit off there, just get rid of a little bit there. You know, when the plants outside, I go and pull the brown leaves off so they don't get on the green leaves. You know, I go out in the watermelon patch and I pull up all the spoiled watermelon so they don't spoil other watermelon. You know, so, man, I used to go to the peach down there in Fort Valley with my grandma, and we would take all the bad peaches and we put them in one basket, and then we put all the good peaches in another basket so that the bad peaches won't get on the good peaches. So listen, but see, what's wrong with some of us is we want to cut a little bit away here. We want to cut a little bit off there. I ain't going to talk to them as much. I ain't going to go there as much. I ain't going to say that as much. I ain't going to speak to them as much as I used to. But guess what? As soon as they call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, things change. As soon as they call you and tell you they got something for you, things change. As soon as they tell you, yeah, I might have cussed you out, but I'm sorry. Then you start running back to them. But when you purge something, you cut the whole thing off, never to return to it again. And I came to tell you, West Side, and we gonna get ready to shift. There's some stuff that we can't cut a little bit off. We gotta cut the whole thing off so we can get to where God is trying to take us. I am shifting. I'm shifting. And Joshua told the folks, listen, y'all ain't gonna hold me back. But in order for me to get there, you got to come and go with me. That's all he was saying. And when he said, when Joshua said, I am shifting, he he wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about the whole community of Israelites. So when you say to when you make up in your mind that you're going to shift, then the person sitting next to you is going to shift. And then the person sitting next to him is going to shift. And then it's going to get contagious, and then they're going to start shifting. Then it's going to roll off on them, and then they're going to start shifting. We ain't going to go there by ourselves. We got to go together. If the young adults don't shift, the whole church don't shift. If the pastor don't shift, the whole church don't shift. If the students don't shift, the whole church don't shift. If the schools don't shift, the whole church don't shift. If the missionaries don't shift, the whole church don't shift. If the Sunday school don't shift, the whole church don't shift. If Bible study don't shift, the whole church don't shift. Why? Because God said, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst. So Joshua told the folks, listen, we're going to get there, but we're going to get there together. And we're going to get there when we drive out those things that don't belong there with us. One does. Listen, first temptation is, you don't even know Jesus. And if you don't know Jesus, then you need to run down to this altar because I'm obligated to expand the kingdom of God and introduce you to a man named Jesus. Our second invitation, of course, is for those of you who may have come here homeless. And I don't mean physically homeless, I mean you spiritually homeless. You without a church home. We want you to come and join Westside because God is getting ready to shift us. And even if you don't want to join Westside, we can get on the phone and call whatever church you want to go to. But we want you not on the curb watching what God is about to do. We want you stuck in the movement with what God is about to do. And then my third invitation this morning is for those of you who believe. Listen to me carefully. Listen to me carefully. It's for those of you in this church who believe. Many of you have come to me individually and said that God is getting ready to take us somewhere. Well, it's time for us to get together and declare and decree that God is going to take us to the next level. And so for those of you who believe that God is getting ready to shift us, you know, maybe you've been praying about it, and maybe God ain't told you yet. That's fine. That's fine. It's okay. Just keep on praying. But for those of you who've been praying for this church day and night, and you know it's time for us to go to the next level, then I want this altar as open can be, so that we can get together and pray that God take this church where God wants to take this church. And so if you believe, my third invitation today, if you believe that God is getting ready to shift us, that He's getting ready to shift us individually and collectively, I want you to join me at this altar this morning in corporate prayer. I want you to join me in corporate prayer this morning as we seek God's face for a time such as this. And so this altar is open as open can be. Those of you who want to join the church, need Christ in your life, we want you over this and left. For those of you who want to join the church, we want you down in the middle. But for those of you who believe that God is getting ready to take us somewhere, I want you right here. And as you stand and as the choir sings, that'll be what you call. God is getting ready to take us somewhere. God is getting ready